Let me ask you something personal right now as you're listening. Where are you? Are you sitting at your kitchen table with a warm drink, out for a quiet walk with your earbuds in, maybe resting after a doctor's visit that left you feeling a little unsure? Wherever you are, I want to thank you for taking this moment for yourself. Because what we're about to talk about could quietly change the way you think about your own heart. Now let me ask a second question and be honest with me here. Have you ever left a routine checkup feeling fine on the outside, but inside a little voice whispered, "What does this mean for me?" Maybe your doctor said your cholesterol's up a bit, your blood pressure's trending high, let's keep an eye on it. And suddenly there's a prescription on the table, maybe even two. But deep down, you're thinking, how did I get here? I don't eat junk food. I try to walk. I'm doing my best. I've heard this story from countless seniors over the years. Men and women who do most things right, and yet they still feel like their health is slipping out of their hands. And that's why today's message is so important. You see, in the world of medicine, we often focus on what's broken, not what can be built. We hand out medications before we talk about the real cause. We monitor the numbers, but forget about the nourishment. Well, let me introduce you to a man who thought differently. His name was Dr. Ellsworth Wareham, a heart surgeon who not only saved lives, but outlived almost every one of his patients. He didn't just talk about heart health, he lived it. And he practiced surgery until the remarkable age of 95. More than 12,000 open heart surgeries in his lifetime. No heart attack, no bypass, no statins. And he lived with sharpness and clarity until age 104. So what was his secret? It wasn't a magic pill. It wasn't a private clinic or some cutting-edge procedure. It was something much simpler and far more powerful: food. Specifically, what he didn't eat. Dr. Wareham spent the final years of his life not in an operating room, but speaking to communities just like ours about the 5 foods that quietly and consistently damage the heart. 5 foods that raise cholesterol, inflame the arteries, and accelerate aging from the inside out. Some of them may be sitting in your kitchen right now. Others you may have eaten just this morning thinking they were doing you good. So if you've ever wondered, why do I still feel tired after eating? Why won't my cholesterol budge even though I've changed my habits? Why did my neighbor have a heart attack even though he walked every day? Then you're going to want to stick with me, because today I'm going to walk you through those 5 foods and, more importantly, show you what you can do instead. If you've ever thought, this just runs in my family, or it's just my age, I want to gently challenge that. Because what if, just what if, it's not genetics or age at all? What if it's just breakfast? Now, I'm not saying you'll fix everything overnight, but if a 104-year-old heart surgeon says you can live without fear of a heart attack, and if thousands of people have quietly turned their heart health around by changing what's on their plate, then maybe, just maybe, it's time we listen. So stay with me, because food number 5, it's the one most doctors never talk about, and yet it could be the most damaging of all. Let's dive in. Your heart is listening. Let me tell you something I've learned after 3 decades of caring for hearts. It's not always the chest pain that sends people to the hospital. Sometimes it starts with a simple sentence like, "I just don't feel quite right. I'm not as sharp as I used to be. I feel fine." But the numbers say otherwise. And that number they're referring to, more often than not, it's cholesterol. Now, cholesterol itself isn't evil. Our bodies need it to build hormones, repair cells, and digest vitamins like A and D. But too much of the wrong kind, especially LDL, the bad cholesterol, that's where the trouble starts. So let's unpack this gently. Dr. Wareham, whose hands literally touched thousands of human hearts, believed something radical for his time number. If your total cholesterol stays under 140 mg/dl, your risk of having a heart attack is nearly zero. And you know what? Modern science backs him up. A large-scale Framingham heart study found that people with low LDL levels had significantly lower risk of cardiovascular events regardless of age. Harvard researchers have since echoed that keeping LDL cholesterol under 70 in high-risk adults is now a gold standard in preventive cardiology. But here's where it gets tricky for folks over 60. As we age, lifestyle and food patterns solidify, but our metabolism, digestion, and liver function slow down. So even if your habits stay the same, your cholesterol numbers might climb year by year. And most people think, well, it's just genetics. Or, that's just what happens after 60. But let's be honest for a moment. You can inherit high cholesterol, but you don't inherit your fridge. You don't inherit your pantry. You make choices every single day. And food. It's the most powerful lever you have. Let me explain why this matters so much. When LDL cholesterol builds up, it doesn't just float in your blood, it sticks. It sticks to the walls of your arteries like grease inside a kitchen drain. And over time, that sticky layer hardens into plaque, which narrows your vessels, stiffens your arteries, and forces your heart to work harder just to get blood through. That's why you might feel winded going upstairs, why your legs feel heavy, why you get lightheaded after bending over. It's not just age, it's circulation. And if that plaque suddenly ruptures, it's like a dam breaking. Your body forms a clot, blocks the artery, and in minutes you've got a heart attack or a stroke on your hands. Here's the part that stuns most people. You don't have to have sky-high numbers for this to happen. Studies have shown heart attacks in patients with cholesterol levels as normal as 180. Because the real danger isn't just the number. It's the inflammation and the oxidation of those cholesterol particles over time. If any of this is starting to connect the dots for you, if you've ever said, but I don't smoke, I walk, I don't eat fast food, so why are my numbers still off? Just comment A. So I know you're here with me. You're not alone in this. Let me share something most doctors don't tell their patients. Your diet can change your cholesterol faster than medication. In one study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, seniors who adopted a low-saturated fat plant-forward diet saw LDL cholesterol drop by 20–30% in as little as 6 weeks. No statins, no surgery, just what they chose to eat. It sounds simple because it is, but it's not easy, especially when our food culture is built around the very ingredients causing the problem. We've been sold a picture of health that includes low-fat yogurt, heart-healthy cheese. Butter is natural. But Dr. Wareham's life and thousands of his patients proved otherwise. So here's what I'd like you to take away from this part. Your cholesterol isn't your destiny. It's a signal. It's your body quietly asking, please give me a chance to heal. And you know what? It's never too late. Even after 60, 70, 80 years of eating a certain way, your body still wants to protect you. Your arteries still want to open. Your cells still want to regenerate. They just need the right environment to do it. And that begins today with knowing which foods are holding you back. Because in just a moment, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most common science-backed foods that raise cholesterol and increase your risk of heart disease. Dr. Wareham avoided all 5, and many of them are sitting quietly in American kitchens disguised as everyday staples. Let's keep going, my friend. This is where it gets real and really useful. All right, now we've arrived at the heart of this episode, literally and figuratively. Let's talk about what's quietly damaging your heart food by food. Because when Dr. Wareham said, I'm heart attack proof, he wasn't relying on luck. He was making deliberate choices, and one of those was cutting out 5 common foods. Let's break them down, starting with the most surprising. Food number 1, dairy products, milk, cheese, butter, yogurt. Now I know, this one stings. Because for many of us, milk was the foundation of childhood. Cereal in the morning, cheese at lunch, ice cream as a treat. But here's what the science and Dr. Wareham's experience tell us now. Milk contains casein, a protein shown to raise LDL cholesterol in multiple studies. One study in PubMed Central found that just 200 grams of dairy a day, that's a cup of milk or a few slices of cheese, can raise your risk for cardiovascular disease. But it doesn't stop there. A major paper in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology linked high milk and dairy intake with increased risk of stroke and all-cause mortality, even if it's organic, even if it's low-fat. Because the saturated fats and inflammatory proteins in dairy don't just sit in your stomach. They impact your endothelial function. That's the inner lining of your blood vessels. And once those vessels get inflamed, cholesterol starts sticking. Now the good news, there are so many plant-based options today. Oat milk, almond milk, cashew yogurt, and honestly, they taste great. You just have to give them a chance. If you've made the switch from dairy, I'd love to know. Drop your favorite alternative in the comments below. Someone might try it because of you. Food number 2, saturated fat red meat, processed meat, cream, baked goods. Let's move to a big one. The fatty foods many of us grew up believing were a sign of strength. Red meat, burgers, hot dogs, butter-soaked toast, biscuits, and gravy. Now listen, this isn't about judgment. This is about what saturated fat does once it enters the bloodstream. It increases low-density lipoproteins, LDL, the sticky plaque-building cholesterol. In a long-term study by Harvard School of Public Health, higher saturated fat intake was directly linked to higher cardiovascular mortality. And here's the tough part. You can't outrun a bad fat. Dr. Wareham used to say, "You can exercise all you want, but if you keep feeding your arteries sludge, your sneakers won't save you." And he was right. Exercise is amazing. It boosts HDL, lowers stress, supports circulation. But it can't erase the daily damage of saturated fat in your meals. Want a practical goal? The American Heart Association recommends keeping saturated fat to less than 10% of total calories. That's about 13 grams per day for the average senior. Just one sausage patty can use up half of that. So what do you eat instead? Nuts, seeds, olive oil, avocado, legumes, foods that feed your body and protect your heart. If this surprised you even just a little, type wow in the comments. You're not alone. I was shocked the first time I read those numbers too. Food number 3, sugar-added sugars, sodas, pastries, candy, sweet coffee drinks. Let's talk about the sweet stuff. Sugar. Now, I'm not here to ruin dessert. But sugar, especially refined sugar, is doing more damage than most of us realize. It doesn't just cause cavities, it causes metabolic chaos. When we eat sugar, our liver tries to store it. But too much, especially fructose, turns into fat in the liver. That's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And it's a major risk factor for heart attacks, especially in people over 60. And here's the kicker. Sugar disrupts your body's ability to feel full. It bypasses satiety signals, leaving you always craving more. So what happens? You snack more. You gain weight. Your insulin resistance grows. Your blood pressure climbs. And boom, your cholesterol follows. Sugar hides in more places than you think. Tomato sauce, salad dressings, yogurt, bread, even so-called healthy granola. What can you do? Start by checking labels. Look for added sugars. Switch to natural sweeteners like stevia, dates, or just ripe fruit. If you've successfully cut back on sugar, even just one habit, I'd love to hear it. Drop it in the comments so we can cheer you on. Food number 5, processed oils, the hidden heartbreaker. Now this one is the most misunderstood food group of all. Processed seed oils. I'm talking about corn oil, soybean oil, canola oil, margarine, the ones marketed as light cholesterol-free or vegetable-based. Sounds healthy, right? But here's what Dr. Wareham and many nutrition scientists have discovered. These oils are often ultra-processed using solvents like hexane or acetone. They're stripped of nutrients, then reconstituted into something your body doesn't recognize as food. Worse yet, they contain very high levels of omega-6 fatty acids. Now your body needs omega-6 and omega-3 in balance. But most Americans eat a ratio of 21 omega-6 to omega-3. That's like trying to row a boat with one oar. You just spin in circles, creating chronic inflammation, which damages blood vessels, raises LDL, and accelerates plaque buildup. And don't be fooled by trans fat-free labels. Some margarines and spreads still contain trace trans fats, which the FDA allows under 0.5 grams per serving. These may seem small, but over weeks and months, they add up. So what's the better choice? Choose cold-pressed oils when needed, like extra virgin olive oil, avocado oil, or coconut oil in moderation. And focus more on whole fats from nature: avocados, nuts, seeds, olives. These support heart health, reduce inflammation, and help absorb fat-soluble vitamins. If you're ready to do an oil audit in your kitchen this week, type oil in the comments. It's one of the easiest ways to take control without giving up flavor. So there you have it, the 5 most heart-harming foods backed by research, and by a man who lived proof of their impact. Let's recap. Dairy raises LDL, inflames arteries. Saturated fat clogs blood flow, stresses the heart. Sugar feeds insulin resistance, harms your liver. Salt elevates blood pressure, stiffens vessels. Processed oils fuels inflammation, worsens cholesterol balance. Any one of these can sneak into your diet without you even realizing it. But together, they create the perfect storm for chronic disease, even in folks who look like they're doing just fine. And that's why Dr. Wareham didn't just eliminate these from his plate. He taught others to do the same. Because he knew what most of us forget. You don't wait for a heart attack to start caring for your heart. Which one of these 5 surprised you most? Drop the number in the comments, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I'll be reading every reply. And now, let me tell you about Jim. Jim is 74, retired postmaster, a good man with tired knees, fading energy, and a story that just might sound a little like yours. Let me tell you about Jim. Jim is 74 years old, retired postmaster, raised 2 kids, kept his yard neat, loved his fishing boat, and used to walk every morning to the old bakery just to say hi. He's the kind of guy who never missed a Sunday at church. Always carried an extra tissue for his wife. One of those salt-of-the-earth men who always said I'm fine even when he wasn't. But when Jim came to see me last spring, he didn't look fine. He sat across from me, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes a little dim. His wife Carol held his hand tighter than usual. She said softly, "He's just not himself anymore." Jim looked at the floor and mumbled, "I'm tired all the time. I can't make it around the block without needing to sit down. I've stopped going fishing. It just takes too much out of me." He had no obvious disease, no recent heart attack, but everything about him was slowing down. So we ran the numbers. His cholesterol was 214, LDL in the danger zone, blood pressure elevated, and his inflammatory markers like CRP were off the charts. But here's the thing, Jim didn't eat bad. No fast food, no soda. He cooked at home, walked when he could. Still, the damage was done, not from the obvious junk, but from the slow accumulation of daily choices. Bacon in the morning, cheese on everything, whole milk in his coffee, store-bought dressings with soybean oil, and a little something sweet after dinner. Every night, all of it added up. So I told him about Dr. Wareham. I showed him the 5 foods. And I said this, Jim, your heart isn't quitting, it's just overwhelmed. Let's give it a break. We made a plan, not a diet, not a punishment, just a reset. He switched to almond milk, swapped butter for avocado on toast, started using olive oil and lemon instead of bottled dressing, and gave sugar a rest, traded nightly cookies for berries and walnuts. Just as important, he started believing he could change. Week 1, not much. Week 2, he slept deeper. Week 3. Carol called me smiling through the phone. "John, he just cleaned the garage, without me asking." By the end of month 2, he was walking a mile again. No breaks, no complaints. Month 3. He took the boat out on the lake. First time in over a year. When he came back, he said, "I didn't feel tired, I felt proud." If that hit you in the heart, if Jim reminds you of someone in your life, drop A in the comments. And if it's you, that's okay too. You're not alone. Jim's story isn't rare. It's typical for every man or woman who starts paying attention before it's too late. And maybe today, that's you. You see, we don't need miracles, we need momentum. A few small wins, done every day. That's the power of what Dr. Wareham taught. You can wait for a heart attack, or you can choose to make your life heart attack proof. Just like Jim did. Just like Dr. Wareham did for over 100 years. And just like you can starting today. Because what comes next? It's not theory, it's real life steps you can take right now. In the next section, I'll walk you through how to start shifting these 5 foods without stress, without overwhelm, without needing to throw out your whole fridge. Simple swaps, practical tips, and a sample day that fits your real life, not some fancy diet book. You ready? So now you know the 5 foods that could be hurting your heart. But knowledge means nothing without action. So let's talk about what you can actually do starting today. Because I'm not interested in handing you a list of don'ts. What matters more is, what can you eat? What swaps can you make? What feels doable? Here's the best part. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Let's start simple with your morning. If you're used to starting your day with bacon and eggs, whole milk, maybe a buttered toast, that's a lot of saturated fat, dairy, and processed oil. Before 9 a.m., let's flip that. Try this instead. Scrambled tofu or oatmeal with ground flaxseed, a splash of almond or oat milk, a piece of whole grain toast with mashed avocado and a sprinkle of lemon, black coffee or herbal tea. Already you've cut out 3 of the 5 inflammatory foods without even skipping breakfast. If you try this tomorrow morning, come back and let me know how it went. It's not about flavor sacrifice. It's about fueling your heart the right way. Midday lunch doesn't need to be boring. Let's say you usually go for a deli sandwich, ham, cheese, mayo. That's processed meat, dairy, salt, and industrial oil, all in one. Try this upgrade. Whole grain wrap, hummus or avocado spread, roasted veggies or grilled tofu. Handful of leafy greens with olive oil and lemon pear, that with a bowl of lentil soup and a few almonds, and you've got yourself a heart-nourishing plate. Bonus fiber in beans and greens helps clear excess cholesterol from your bloodstream. Afternoon snack. Let's keep it steady. Instead of crackers or cookies, try a banana with almond butter, sliced apple with walnuts, a handful of sunflower seeds, even dark berries with a spoon of plain plant yogurt. Remember, sugar spikes and dips can wear out your arteries over time. What you want is stable energy, and that's what healthy fats and fiber give you. Dinner, the most flexible, forgiving meal. Here's where you can get creative. Stir fry. Use olive oil instead of seed oils. Salad. Toss in chickpeas, quinoa lemon tahini dressing. Pasta. Try whole grain with sautéed spinach, garlic, and a drizzle of avocado oil. Roasted sweet potatoes, lentil stew, or mushroom tacos. All heart-friendly, all delicious. If you've already got a favorite plant-powered dinner, share it in the comments. Let's build a little recipe vault for this community together. Still wondering where to begin? Here's what I call the Heart Smart Starter Day. Morning. Oatmeal with flaxseed cinnamon oat milk. Herbal tea or black coffee. Midday. Lentil salad with cucumbers. Cherry tomatoes, olive oil. Whole grain crackers with hummus. Apple slices. Evening. Stir-fried kale and tofu with garlic and brown rice. Berries for dessert. Snack options. Handful of almonds. Banana water with lemon. And if you're worried about where to get protein, trust me, you're covered. Lentils, beans, seeds, nuts, tofu, whole grains, they all give your heart what it needs. A few bonus tips to lock it in: read labels. If it has more than 5 ingredients or words you can't pronounce, skip it. Watch for hidden sugars, especially in low-fat snacks. Choose water or tea over soda. Even zero-sugar drinks can trick your metabolism. Batch prep on Sundays. Cook a pot of beans. Chop veggies. Make your own salad dressing. It'll save you stress during the week. Listen to your body. After a meal, ask, do I feel lighter, clearer, energized, or bloated? Sleepy, foggy? Your body keeps the score. If you're ready to commit to just one change this week, type "try" in the comments. You're not doing this alone. We're doing it together. You see, changing how we eat doesn't mean losing comfort. It means gaining control. And when your heart feels good, everything else follows. Coming up next, we'll wrap this up with a final reflection, a recap of the big takeaways, and the next step you can take to protect your future, one meal, one choice at a time. Let's finish strong. If you've stayed with me all the way to this point, let me say something simple but real. Thank you. Thank you for showing up for your health. Thank you for choosing curiosity over fear. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey today. Now, before we go, let's take a deep breath and bring it all home. You've just learned about the 5 everyday foods that quietly chip away at heart health: dairy, raises cholesterol, and inflames your blood vessels. Saturated fats clog your arteries and drain your energy. Refined sugar hijacks your metabolism and feeds disease. Excess salt stiffens blood vessels, raises your pressure. Processed oils fuel chronic inflammation in every cell. We didn't just list them, we broke them down. We talked science. We shared real-life experience. And most importantly, we talked about you, your kitchen, your plate, your future. And here's the truth. I hope you carry with you, you're not too old to change. You're not too far gone. You're not stuck in your genes. You are capable. You are wise. And most of all, you are worth the effort. If you felt that, just whisper yes to yourself, or leave me a simple in the comments. That moment of agreement. That's where change begins. Because look, there's nothing wrong with aging, but there is something wrong with giving up. And you don't have to. You've heard me talk about Dr. Ellsworth Wareham, a man who chose his plate with purpose, who lived 104 years, not because of luck, but because he respected the body he had. You heard Jim's story. A tired postmaster who traded cookies for clarity and got his spark back at 74. And maybe now, it's your turn. Maybe today is the day you take that first quiet step. Maybe it's a swap, a walk, a conversation with your doctor. Whatever it is, start and keep going. Because your heart has been carrying you all these years, isn't it time you carried it back? If you found value in today's episode, I'd be honored if you'd share this with a friend, a spouse, a sibling, someone walking the same path. We're better together. And don't forget to subscribe, because next week we're diving into something that shocks most people. Over 60, the 5 food myths. Most seniors still believe in how they're holding you back. I'll break them down one by one so you can let go of outdated advice and finally feel free to eat with confidence again. So hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. I don't want you to miss what's coming next. But for now, take care of yourself. Eat well, rest deeply, and remember, you're not just getting older, you're getting smarter, stronger, and more intentional with every choice. We'll talk soon.